What's up, guys? Welcome back to Backyard Bass, and today we are going to go over top water lures for the summer and going into fall. Alright guys, like I said, we're going to talk about some top water lures, some of my favorites, ending the summer and getting ready to go into fall. I know it's a little bit early, but I want to make sure you guys can either, if you need to go get something or whatever, you're going to be ready for this bite, because sometimes it happens quick. I'm sure we're off another month and a half or so yet, but when you start seeing the shorter days and that first couple nights, and when it starts dropping down, you know, and like, let's just say here in the Midwest, probably in the low 50s, stuff like that during the evening, you know, that's going to target, or that's going to trigger that fall topwater bass bite. And I can tell you, it can be a ton of fun. To start off, you know, I have to go, let's start off with the summer style right here first. So my top lures for summer, one is going to be the Rage Frog. This thing's got a lot of kicking action. I paired it up on a 6/0 Owner Beast hook. It's an offset EWG here. That's probably the best one I found to fit these. I know they say, I think it's like a 4 or 5 out is what they say to put on it, but I have terrible hookup ratios with those things. And a lot of times the bait rolls a lot on its top side. So I try to get away from that. Like I said, I use the 6/0. It works really good. I don't have any of those issues with that. That's number one though. That's probably one of my favorite things to fish in and out of grass, lily pads, anything like that, while the summer still got that stuff up. Second being a buzzbait. I mean, you cannot go wrong with a buzzbait. Whether it be beginning of summer, midsummer, late summer, and even into fall. Fall is probably one of my favorite times to throw this buzzbait. Those big bass just love buzzbaits. I mean, they kill this thing. The hookup ratio is really good on them. I'm going to say probably better than what the frog is. And I have a pretty good hookup ratio on that frog, but the buzzbait's even better. There's very few that I throw that have the actual trailer hook on. Reason being, if I'm going to throw something like this buzzbait here, I actually have paired up with a trailer. This is just a little Rage swimmer here. You can see I dyed the tail chartreuse there. I have a pretty good hookup ratio on just this. Now, there's a lot of times that I will actually use this Rage toad, a Rage Frog, on here too, like this. But when I do that, that brings those legs back so far on there, and a lot of times what they do is they start nipping these legs off. So if I start doing that, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a trailer hook on there, and it kind of stays back here and hangs just a little bit below those legs and works pretty good. So if you guys are missing fish and they're short striking like that, you can start putting trailer hook on. Like I said, 90% of the time I don't use a trailer because a lot of times it gets hung up and stuff like that. But if they're short striking and stuff like that, then I'll put it on. That was your traditional buzzbait right there. This next one is actually, this is a Booyah bait, Booyah buzzbait. And this has actually got a swivel head. I just picked these up at the beginning of the summer. Actually, it's probably early spring when I got these. I've seen these. I've never thrown these before until then. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of these. You've got to burn them pretty fast to get them to come through the water right, or they just constantly fall down in the water like this, and they don't come across the top of the water real good at all. But the one thing I did find is if you do stick like a frog, like this Rage Frog here, or even this Rivet Frog here, it's enough buoyancy and enough bait there that it actually holds it up pretty good, and it's not too bad. So I would suggest, if you're going to start throwing these, either one, have an 8-to-1 gear ratio high-speed reel and burn it, or put some type of plastic like that on the back of it, and then you'll be okay. On to my next one here, as I showed you just before, was the Rivet. This is kind of it's got pretty good action to it. I don't care for it nearly as much as I do the Rage Frog. Main time I'm going to throw this is if I've got pretty clear water, and because of it being white, I'll throw it when it's real thick vegetation that I'm coming over the top of and coming out to the edge of it. I try to stick with this over the Rage, but it's not too often, I'll be honest with you. It's a great frog, don't get me wrong. It's just not my confidence bait, I'll say that. So those are pretty much my top summer top baits right there. Now, going into fall, like I said, the buzz bait is killer. I mean, killer in the fall. Um, if you're looking for a big bite, you want to be throwing that buzz bait, and you can cover a ton of water in a short amount of time with a buzz bait. Just keep that in mind if you guys are tournament fishing or something, um, and you aren't sure where the bass are or anything like that. Throw a buzz bait. You can cover a lot of water, go right down the bank, and keep going. Once you get into them, you'll know it. I mean, they'll just start blowing up on there. If you see schools of shad busting out in the middle of coves, which happens a lot of times, go right over that buzz bait. I mean, just start reeling through there. I mean, you'll kind of have to figure it out for yourself with whether or not they want a fast retrieve or if they just want a medium pace retrieve. You just kind of play around with that a little bit and see what they like better. You know, let the fish tell you what they want. But going on from that, this come out, it's been out for years, but just recently made it to the Midwest. I'd say probably 3 or 4 years ago, something like that, is the Whopper Plopper. It's a great bait. Don't get me wrong at all. I throw it a little bit in the summer. Not a whole lot, probably not as much as I should, I guess. But I have all them other baits that I have a whole lot of confidence in, and I kind of stick with those, so I don't give this as much time as it's probably needed. But in the fall, when you have schools out there of shad and the bass are busting this, I absolutely love this bait because you can throw it out there, reel it right up to the school where it's at, and just give it a few twitches, and it'll come through that water pretty good right there, and just stays on top of the water, and it drives those fish nuts. Another time I'm going to throw this is if I'm throwing the buzz bait and they're missing it a lot and just not quite hitting it as hard as I want and everything else, I will go down to the buzz bait or the Whopper Plopper on that, just because it's going to stay in their area a little bit longer. It's going to aggravate them and it's going to entice a bite. This here is the small size. I think I don't know if it says it on here. I think it's like a 90 or something like that. Yeah, this is the 90 here. I'm actually going to throw this more on ponds. I don't throw this on the lake a lot at all. I maybe have once or twice, not very often at all though. Like I said, I save this for the small ponds. If I'm going to fish a little creek or something like that, I'll save it for that. When I'm out on the big lakes, and I know a lot of guys are going to be like, what in the world? But this is the Whopper Plopper I throw here on lakes. It's a lot bigger profile. It's got a lot more thump and action to it. This one here is actually the size 130. And I think they've got one bigger than this yet too. I'll have to look and see. I'm not sure on that, but I think it's like a one. I want to say a one something. I don't remember what it was. I'll have to look it up, but I'll link it down below, along with all these other baits. I'll link too. But this is the bigger Whopper Plopper, like I said, the size 130. I get this thing. I mean, if you guys can see that, it's got teeth marks all over that thing, and those are not musky bites. They're actual bass, so they chew on this thing pretty hard. One of the lakes I fish actually has a lot of muskie in it, and I absolutely refuse to throw this over there because it will be gone quickly. Buzz baits, Whopper Ploppers, anything like that that's big, bulky, makes a lot of noise, those muskie tear into all the time. So I try to keep my baits from those guys over there and try to fish a little bit more around cover and some smaller stuff so I don't get all that stuff taken away. All right, now, number one, top bait of all time during the fall is going to be the Zeraspook. This thing has not done me wrong ever. I fish even this size here. I fish in ponds. I fish in lakes. It's an all-time favorite. It's been out for a long time. It's a great bait. Easy to walk, across the water. I see even beginners pick these things up and they can just give it a few twitches and get it walking pretty easy. So it's real easy to do for a beginner. This bait just gets killed in the fall. I mean, it is an absolute great bait. As you can tell on this one, you can see, I've got paint missing all over this thing, and I've had it for, I don't know, probably, I might have had this one a year and a half, maybe. That's just how often I use it, how often I throw it, and how much it gets tore up. I mean, it's a bass magnet. There's no doubt about it. You can ask anybody out there that's been around the fishing game for a while, and they will probably tell you they have a Zeraspook of some sort in their tackle box or tackle bag or whatever they may have, and I guarantee you they throw it a lot in the fall. In the summer, I don't throw it really. Maybe if I'm just playing around or something like that, I might throw it around and I might get bit on it or whatever, but it's mainly the fall bait that I use it for. So, like I said, guys, I will link all these down in the description for you guys. You can go get them if you need them. Anything else that you guys want to hear on the next video, please comment down below, let me know, and we'll gladly try to go over whatever we can with whatever I know. I'm no expert by any means, but I do fish a lot. Been around the fishing game for quite a while, so I do know a little bit. So just comment down below, let me know if you guys want to talk about anything in particular, and we'll get to it as soon as we can, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.